Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
I'm Noah.
And the giant goldfish has a uvula. The giant goldfish has a uvula.
That's why you brought the book.
This return to One Piece after, we just finished with Little Garden. Brought my love of One Piece back.
Yeah.
I mean, it brought the fun back. It brought the laughter back. It was.
Right.
This has just been so pleasant.
All right, there we go.
So we have moved on from Little Garden, and the cast and crew of the Merry Go has moved on to Drum Island.
Yes.
And I finally get to meet what I believe we're going to find out is your favorite member of the crew?
No, one of my favorites.
One of your favorites?
One of my favorites.
Okay.
But
and so but this ended up being a 3-book study.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm doing what I normally
taking notes.
do.
You got a lot of tabs in there. That's a lot of tabs.
That's a lot of tabs in there. There's a file on the drive that has a lot of pictures. I don't know if you're going to use all of them or not, but there's so many different things that caught my attention as we were going through this.
Oh, same.
And my reread, I liked it better.
Okay.
All right. Than my first read. My first read, I was just like, oh my goodness, I was really struggling with it.
Yeah.
And then I sat down this past week and I reread it, and I was like, I'm just so glad I have that rule.
Kind of the opposite of Little Garden, then. That's interesting.
Yeah, it was 100% the opposite.
Okay, interesting. All right. Well, that's the last time I'm going to mention Little Garden.
Right. You know what? There's a couple parts about it that caught my attention. That as we leave it, the goldfish with the uvula, it's just hysterical. I mean, I just realized that. I looked at it, and it's like, wait a minute.
Well, I took a lot of notes of my own because I realized how much fun I had rereading this, and how much more I was picking up on, again, or how much more I was reading into it, than I normally would. This is, like I said in the last video, this is really fighting for that second place spot. It was like my second favorite arc, but I mean it's fighting hard. So I love this arc. This is one of my favorites. And
why?
I realize I will get into that. I promise. But there's a lot of story reasons why I love this arc, and I'll get into it. But I want to see where we're going
at
first, because I have notes in chronological order. But there's a big story analysis I have at the end. So,
gotcha. So this is one of those. You're looking at it from the perspective of looking back after have been over 1,000 episodes in.
Yeah,
I am stone cold rookie first time reading.
Yeah,
and I didn't get that sense of. There's a couple points where I've been reading early on where I just felt like I was picking a lock and finding secrets. Yeah. And I did not have that feeling at all in anything that I'm reading here.
Okay.
All right. And so I think that I'm afraid I'm either missing something, or maybe it's just not there, and let's just let the story develop. I was struck by how cold the leader of Baroque Works is. All right, because his absolute ruthlessness.
Mr. Zero.
Yeah, Mr. Zero, because he says, Miss All Sunday, dispatch Mr. 2 to Little Garden, somewhere between Little Garden and Alabasta. Have Mr. 3 disposed of. He is every bit his name, Sir Crocodile. Every bit. And then you get this one chapter that we have the phone conversation between Sanji and Sir Crocodile intercepted by Captain Smoker.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, okay, they're heading to Alabasta. So now we get this hint. Yeah. There's going to be a meetup. Yeah. Right? That's pretty cool. You learn at the end, right before the crew leaves, that Dory and Bragi are former pirates. I enjoyed that. That was just a nice little backstory piece of information that was really fun. Yeah. And then they leave. You have Zoro getting stronger so that he can escape traps like the wax candelabra thing, right? So, and then I have a note here, and then I listed it important. There's this point in the voyage from Little Garden to Drum Island where a feverish Nami looks over her shoulder and asks, "What's that? It doesn't sound like the wind." And this was just an interesting little...
Yeah, you're right. She does say that.
She does. She says, now, so the question is, can I find it? Because...
It's towards the beginning, so you're on the wrong side of whatever book.
No, I'm not. It's right, it's right here.
Oh,
because it's the first time I pulled out a highlighter, and I write in books all the time. When I read books, I write in books and I take notes. And I haven't done that yet in One Piece. I've been kind of saving these. I broke the spine on all of my copies. I have been highlighting things, and because
I think it was she predicted the cyclone.
Well, yes, it is. Right, but you get this look. You get this crew member who realizes her importance as navigator. She is deathly ill, quite literally.
Yes.
Right. She comes up, and then you get her looking over her shoulder, and she's not saying this out loud.
No,
she's thinking to herself. The thing that's cool about that is that you get Nami, or Vivi rather, talking to the crew saying it's really important that we get to Alabasta.
Mm-hmm.
So get the navigator a doctor.
Yeah.
But I don't completely buy that it's that self-centered. I think we're seeing this side of Vivi where she truly cares about the health of this person.
Okay.
All right. And I because what we learn from Vivi later on in the story, when she, who is it that slaps her or yells at her?
As a child?
As a child.
It's Wapol.
It's Wapol, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she handles it with such a natural maturity and grace and dignity. Here's a person that actually values human beings. She knows this crew is working on her side. I think there's more to this than just she needs to get to Alabasta. Okay. I think she really cares.
Okay.
And then what cemented it for me was this right here. This girl doesn't just use the wind and the sky to predict the weather. It's almost as though she feels it in her bones. I have never seen a seafarer like her.
Okay.
All right. I mean, she's a very observant person.
Yes, she is.
But that also just gives another layer to Nami.
Yes.
And,
and it's always more important to come from someone else.
Yes.
Someone else points it out.
Yes. And so as much as I like Usopp, and I've always said I like the Usopp character, Nami is the onion that I'm trying to unpeel.
Yeah.
She is. She just flat out is.
Okay,
right? Yeah. And so there's a whole lot going on there. So, we meet Wapol. Right, we find out he's eating the munch fruit, and I'm just the absurdity, the absolute absurdity of munch fruit and everything that he can do with it.
Yeah,
right.
Oh,
and munch mutation, and how he can eat something and return it, and he takes his two henchmen and he combines them together, and they actually come out looking like this freakish Alice in Wonderland card with arms type. Thing, it's crazy, but I absolutely thought it was hysterical that he takes a bite of Luffy and says he's too chewy. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, I think that was another thing that I highlighted in the battle on here was he's too chewy. I thought that was absolutely hysterical. All right, and so I'm just, I'm going along for the ride and I'm going along for the adventure, and we then, you end a chapter, you turn the page, here is the cover chapter art, and it's Axe Hand Morgan on a boat.
Yep.
Right, in a prison suit.
Yeah.
Just laying there relaxing with his axe hand under his head, using an axe for a pillow, which is kind of amusing on its own. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this is just one of those cover art stories, I'm going to be very disappointed. I want to see Axe Hand again.
Okay.
I want to see confrontation number 2. Obviously, I don't know if I'm going to get it, but I want to see it.
Okay.
All right. Mm-hmm. And so, the following chapter, the cover out is Kaya as an assistant doctor.
Yeah.
And I had the same reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, it's great to see her out and doing something and discovering what she's interested in, and she's not sick anymore, and she's healthy and in the whole bit. I want to see her more in the story again. Yeah. If this is relegated to just chapter cover art, I think I'm going to be really disappointed.
So chapter cover art is story, and it helps flesh out what's going on behind the scenes.
Yes,
that's stuff that he can't justify spending, chapter sections devoted to, but things that he can.
Yes, I know.
He can let know. Then I think there's several times where it comes back into play.
You know what? It's a wide world, and they're traveling and moving on.
Yep.
So if they leave someone behind, they leave someone behind. You know? Okay. So I did not, you're going to have to help me with this. I did not follow the explanation of the seasons on the island, that there are 16 seasons.
So essentially it's a justification for why there's a summer island here, and then like 2 days later there's a desert island, and then 2 days later there's an island that's in spring.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically him trying to explain that the Grand Line is unpredictable, that the weather is very unpredictable, that all the islands are going to be different.
Right.
There's 6. Essentially, he's trying to add some mythos to it with okay, you can have a perpetually winter island, and that winter island will still have a summer, a spring, a fall, and a winter within the climate of it. But it's...
Well, I found this chart just a little confusing because it was summer, spring.
Yeah.
Like
there's summer islands,
right.
There's spring islands, there's autumn islands, and there's winter islands, and each of those has their own version of summer, spring, autumn, winter. That's essentially what it means.
So I looked at this and I was torn between, am I missing something, or is this just a duh moment?
This is kind of just a duh moment. It's kind of just a hey, I should probably just justify this before someone asks me to justify it.
Well, you know what? Because we've already established with the Grand Line that just about anything can happen, and so I didn't know if this was really necessary.
Yeah.
But the key comes at the bottom of the page.
Uh-huh.
The key to this comes at the bottom of the page where he says, that's why stable weather means there's an island nearby.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's right there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, okay, got it. Turn the page, ta-da, an island, and they're there. So, that was, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, I asked this question, I answered it myself a little bit later on in the story. You get this delightful picture silhouetted on the moonlight, of Dr. Kira's sleigh
and
flying with the Christmas thing, and I asked the question, can Tony, Chopper, Flyer just jump a really long distance? And that actually gets answered later. He can just jump a long distance. So, okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think in that one specifically, he's also using one of the ropes.
I didn't see a rope in that picture.
And not in the silhouette of Kureha and Chopper, but in the later one.
Okay.
When they're running away at the end of the story.
Okay.
He's running down a rope.
Yes, he does.
They establish that she uses ropes to get up and down from her castle. So essentially, it's a folk legend. That they fly down, but in reality, they're just running along a massive rope.
Massive rope, yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And ropes
which is fun because you're setting up this aura of mystique surrounding Dr. Kureha, however you pronounce it. I don't know.
I just call it
Kureha. Yeah.
Well, no. Yeah. Okay. So
the witch. Yes.
No rope. Yeah. And that's why it's very.
But it's also he's telling it. As a legend.
That's true. Okay,
so
you're right.
That's
okay.
I think that's the intention.
Okay,
is that the townsfolk don't realize that, and it's just adding that aura to her. That mystique.
Yep, got it.
Yeah,
I found it hysterical that Sanji admits that he gives the best food to the girls, and anything that's spoiled or close to spoiled, feeds the guys. I thought that was hysterical. I was okay, that's good.
It's also followed up by a great line of, does it hurt to be sick? I don't know. I've never been sick.
I know.
Are you people even human?
Yeah, I know. And you know the one reason why I didn't write that down in my notes?
No.
Because I knew you were going to say it. Yeah. I absolutely knew you were going to say it. All right. I loved Sanji versus the Lapins during the avalanche. Damn those blasted hippity hops. Next time I see them, they're stew. That's just funny. I had this oddball thought in the middle of all of this, and I think I may have asked you this question on camera once before, and forgive me for not remembering the answer. Do any of the One Piece villains get a quality backstory that explains why they're villains?
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes.
Because the cardboard cutout, set them up, knock them down, I'm already getting a little bit tired of it.
It's less early on.
Okay.
And some of the early villains might get some more fleshed out backstories later on to explain why they are the way they are, but especially early on, it's more of a focus on the main characters. Right. Whereas later on, when the crew is a little more stable, you get
the focus shifting
towards side characters and villains and why people are the way they are and story of the world and all that. So
that's good because that makes it more interesting.
He spends a good amount of time setting up the main cast of the crew and giving you a reason to care about each member of the crew. Like that's kind of how he spends a lot of the time. And then once that's established, that's when he goes in. So
you almost have to.
Yes.
Because if you just have two-dimensional villains,
later on, especially, you start to get a lot more.
Something to look forward to.
Yes.
All right, good.
Yes.
All right. The woolly hippo was hysterical.
Right.
So I'm just delighted at Oda's wackiness.
Yes.
I mean, there's just this unending font of creativity that takes...
Whatever comes to mind gets drawn.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
asking
funny.
the question of why not. And then you get this little thing. So Dalton is the former head of the guards of the Kingdom of Drum Island.
Yes.
And he served Wapol's father.
And then Wapol, yes.
Right, and then Wapol. Yeah. And so he says that he's loyal to the former king.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but right before that, you see the reason why. You see the backstory. Wapol's on the woolly hippo. King Wapol, can we ride too? He says, silence, fend for yourselves. He's not a king that takes care of his people. He's not a king that even considers his people.
Yeah.
So you can see why Dalton is the way he is. So did I understand he fled the island in the face of Blackbeard the pirate?
Yes.
Okay. So he's not...
I'm going to clarify this for you. He's not Blackbeard from our
No, I understand that. Cool. We had that conversation.
We had that conversation
a year ago, right? Yeah. No, I actually remembered that.
Cool.
Okay. He didn't have obviously he could not have had the power of the munch fruit when he fled from Blackbeard. If he did...
No, he could have. I think it's implied that he did.
And he didn't have the power to defeat Blackbeard? How powerful is Blackbeard? I mean, that munch fruit thing is pretty powerful.
Yeah, Luffy also took care of him fairly handily. He's also a coward. Walpole's a coward.
Well, most bullies are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of left up to interpretation.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I noticed that Luffy trusted Nami with his hat again.
Yeah.
She's sick. She's flat on her back. He's like, I got to go fight here. Hold this for me.
Yeah.
Is there any other character that we see him trusting his hat with? To this point in the story, I don't remember one.
Mm-hmm.
She's the only one. It'll be interesting to see if he does that later on. Then you get the whole Luffy earns the support of the Lapins by saving one while he's saving, Sanji. You can't, that one almost beats you over the head. You can't help but notice this is going to come back and pay off for them later, right? And that's good. So I wonder if I have the picture of it right here, because this stuff just made me absolutely laugh out loud. Vivi dragging Usopp by the face.
Yeah.
And then this, which is straight out of Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
You know, the wappity wap, and then the swollen face right there. I was killing myself laughing.
Yeah.
When I saw that. I absolutely loved that. But a 3-hour vertical climb, it actually gave the height later on, and I didn't write it down, but it was a huge vertical climb in the middle of a blizzard.
Yeah.
As we establish how strong is Luffy.
Yeah.
Right?
Again.
Okay. Yeah.
And also how much he cares about, you know, his crew.
His crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's also got blinders. He's not thinking outside the box. He is a person that he is a blunt object.
Yes.
I don't know if that changes later on, but he is the definition of what we would say in the Navy, get a bigger effing hammer. Yeah. You know.
I think we're past this point in your notes, but there's actually a very important moment right as they get to Drum Island between Luffy and Vivi. And that's when they initially pull up and all the guns are drawn on him.
Yeah.
And Luffy's like, okay, fine, if you're going to shoot, you
and she schools him. She changes his approach to that whole thing. She says, did she say you're a failure as a captain or you're a stupid captain? I think she says you're a failure as a captain.
I think she says you're a failure as a captain
I skipped that in terms of writing it down.
Yeah.
In part because, one, again, I knew you were going to bring it up. Okay. I just knew. We didn't talk about
we never talk about these things.
But there are things that I know you're going to point out.
Yeah.
And that is one of those things where I'm like, store that in the back of your head and save it. Yes. It's going to come to play in the future.
And when I bring up something like this, I'm just going to say, store it in the back of your head. Just keep that in mind.
Yes.
And
to keep these 8 pages from being 16 pages, there are things that I just don't.
It's an important moment. We'll put it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't not notice it.
Yeah.
Right. I have to admit, I was chopper focused on this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Right? And the reason I was chopper focused is the first time I read this section, I was confused by the backstory.
Yep.
And it was a long, long time till I came to the point where I went, okay, right?
Yeah.
And we'll save that for a little bit later on. All right.
Yeah.
Wait, how does everybody get, this is just a little side thought I just had. How does everybody come up with all of these fruits? Dalton eats the ox fruit bison model? I mean, like, really? Bison model?
Yeah, right. There's models of,
so it becomes this human bison hybrid. They give the name for it later. It was a zone.
Zoan.
Zoan, is that how it's pronounced?
Zoan or zone. Again, half the words in this people pronounce differently. I usually hear it referred to as a Zoan type. So I think they've tried to explain this, but there's essentially 3 categories. This isn't spoilers. There's 3 types of devil fruits. There's like a paramecia, a logia, and a Zoan. And it's basically just 3 broad categories of what the fruit does.
Gotcha.
Like Zoan is like you transform into something, like typically an animal.
Right.
Logia is like
the Animangus fruit.
Logia is like the is smoker. It had a Logia type, so he turns to smoke. You know, his body can turn to smoke, and he has smoke powers. So it's basically anything that's like an element or like a substance. You know, and then paramecia is everything that can't be classified into the other 2 is pretty much how it turns out.
The catch-all.
The catch-all. Right. So that just to, if you see those pop up, just to catch you up to speed.
So there's this beautiful thing that's been established early on. It got established with Arlong Park, where Zoro can just go into a large group of enemy men and just decimate them.
Yeah.
All right. Because you get Zoro taking on all of Wapol's men.
Yeah.
It's convenient.
Yeah.
It's
just
like,
convenient. You can trust that he off-screen will take care of
all of these people, right? Yeah. And it's really not all that difficult. And now we've seen it for like the third time.
Yeah.
Usopp's reaction. Remember what Usopp said when he got done with that? This was hysterical.
In this one?
Good job, Zoro. Just what I ordered.
Yeah.
Yeah. People, the crew, they don't slap him upside the head for those comments.
Nope, they just accept it now. They let it go.
Okay. So, there's the obvious story, Chopper saved by Dr. Is it Hiraluk?
Hiraluk, yeah.
Hiraluk, all right, and nursed back to health.
Yes.
And you get the first time in Chopper's life that he's been accepted. He's been, ignored by his parents. He's treated horribly. He was treated horribly by the herd.
Yep.
He's not been accepted by people.
Yeah.
When did he eat the fruit? Did we see that? I don't remember seeing that.
They just say that he did at one point when he was still a reindeer.
Right.
So he just did.
Right. Okay. And he's got a blue nose.
Yep.
And
yeah. It's December.
So
there's a reason we set this back. It's totally not a happy coincidence. The reason this episode comes out in December.
Goes to the island of misfit toys. The island of misfit pirates, as it would be, right? Yeah. But what really caught my attention was Dalton telling the story of the revolutionary named Dragon who is spreading dangerous ideas. In 5 or 6 years, he will be a formidable enemy of the world government. And when I read that, I went, oh, wait a minute. And I didn't have the book on hand, right? And so I've got this in here. And one of the many notes. I opened it up right here. We've got that.
Yep.
I went home. I actually wrote it on the back.
Oh, that's why you brought the third.
That's why I brought this one right here because.
Yep.
I got it. I remembered it.
Yeah.
I made the connection. Maybe you could splash this one up.
I will.
Yeah. These things
they know who you're talking about.
The ebb and flow of the ages. So yeah, I got it. I saw this and I was like, okay, here we go. It's picking up steam. This is going to get interesting. Unfortunately, this is probably a teaser. I'll have to wait another 200 episodes to find out more on, but I got it. That was probably the most interesting part of this entire read for me.
Okay.
Was just getting this.
All right.
So we already talked about Wapol slapping the young princess. Vivi, she responds with that unusual, calm, diplomatic, mature response. I'm really, really, really interested in the idea of defining what is a pirate. And more interested in defining what does the pirate flag mean, because that's a huge part of this story. What does it mean to be a pirate? What does the pirate flag mean?
Yeah.
Okay. There is absolute tragedy in the skull and crossbones being hoisted as a sign of a fight against all diseases, and the mistake that Chopper makes with the mushroom.
Yes.
It is so tragic. It is tug on your heart.
Yes.
Tragic. It's got to be. I cannot believe that Hiraluk intended that. It's got to be an unintended consequence.
It was very much an unintended consequence.
And yet, at the same time, he knew what Chopper had. Mm-hmm. He knew what it was going to do to him.
Yep.
He knew exactly where things were going. And there's this tragedy of people forcing Chopper to experiencing the consequences of actions without explaining to him why. Why did Hiraluk kick him out when, for the first time in that young reindeer's life, he had family and he gets booted out the door? And he immediately goes into self-harm. I need to injure myself so that you'll take me back in and heal me. Yeah. And the self-harm is so painful to watch, and so painful to read, and they go through that whole thing. But you've got this the Skull and Crossbones rejects impossibilities as what, Herolic says. He's raising this against all disease. And I asked, is this another definition of what it means to be a pirate in One Piece? Is this just that character, or is this going to be part of this overall theme? And you're not saying anything.
I'm really interested in your stuff. I'm paying close attention, and I'm really interested in your notes. I love what you're picking up. Believe me, I got plenty of notes. I'm sure. Okay,
all right.
Bit. So I'm being too quiet.
Kira is a ruthless doctor. She is a no pay, no play, right? Which makes me wonder, why are you a doctor? Because you see the softer side of her later. She's very clearly the crusty character that has a heart of gold on the inside.
Yes.
To a point. She's apparently got to really like you, because she puts Tony Chopper's medical bag on the sleigh when he doesn't know, and he finds it later, and then you realize that whole thing. But she's down in the town, and she's like, oh yeah, sick kid. Well, pay me or you could die.
Yeah, you could die.
Right? Every time Chopper cries, he looks angry, except for one.
The one at the end?
Yes. I'm looking at his eyes, and every time he cries, there is anger and there is pain.
Yes, there is. The art is so fucking good.
I know.
It sells it.
So, except for the one at the end.
Except for the one at the end.
All right. So, and it wasn't just me.
Nope, it's not. It's not, because it is very much an intentional choice. It's obvious that's an intentional, if you notice it.
But making crying eyes express a whole different level of emotion is remarkable artwork combined with this storyline.
Yes.
All right. Dalton saved Chopper early on.
Yes.
Dalton knew what Chopper was. Mm-hmm. Dalton had to feel at least a little bit of a companionship there, right? His oath, I will carry out the wishes of the old king until peace is restored to the kingdom. I refuse to die. There's a level of, just absolute dedication. And then shortly after that, this is interesting. And I know that I'm skipping large sections.
No, it's okay. We'll come back and...
Sanji describes Luffy as a monster.
Yes,
he's trying to define. I don't think Sanji realizes what he's doing there.
No, he doesn't.
You get this. I'm gonna tear up. God, I was trying so hard.
No, it's okay. I will too. I will too. Getting into it. This is one of those arcs that's just like,
this, right? And you warned me about this 1.5 years ago.
Yes, I did.
And I can't stop it from happening.
Yeah,
and I realized
he has a talent with this.
So I'm not going to go into it on camera, but I realized how much and why I relate to these characters with the depths of pain that they have. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So very clearly, Tony Chopper has been rejected, abandoned. He doesn't feel like he has any worth. He doesn't have any value. Everyone's called him a monster. He has accepted the tag monster.
Yes.
And here, when Tony Chopper realizes that Luffy is this rubber man, right?
Yes.
And Sanji is trying to define him. It's like, oh, you can stretch like rubber. Basically, he's a monster. It's in here. I know that
it is, and I want to highlight that particularly. This picture breaks me every time.
Okay,
that breaks me. Oh, it's somewhere in here. It's somewhere in here. Hold on. Basically, he's a monster. That it's very importantly, it gets its own dedicated panel.
Yes.
And look at Sanji's expression in this panel.
He's happy. He's smiling. He's smiling. Right.
You're right. This is probably the most important line in Chopper's story so far.
The picture right here. The sudden realization that there's a whole different way of looking at himself is right here.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
It is one of this right here is kind of the most, to Chopper's story, is probably the most important line spoken in this moment, alongside another one that comes later. But really, I think it's this one that really starts moving Chopper forward.
Yes.
This is the line. I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was one of my biggest notes. So this scene right here is so important.
It is. It's critically important. It's the start of the redefining himself and accepting himself.
Yes.
Now, I don't think by any means at the end of this storyline that he is completely healed.
No, he's not.
No, this is going to be revisited. You don't get over these things that easily.
Yeah.
I think they're all going to have another layer of that. I'm going to start bringing Kleenex when we do this. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that one. All right. So,
I'm trying to see if I have any.
Yeah, that's okay. Moments of absolute hilarity.
Nami, what's the ruckus?
What's the ruckus?
Just a fight.
Yeah.
Is it serious? That was one of my notes too.
Yeah,
I love that whole thing. It's not important. Go back to sleep. Okay. Right. And then she does. And she does.
She does. Right? That is absolutely hysterical, you know, and one of absolute trust. One of the doctors, one of the 20 doctors, says, and I think this is in reference to they're trying to save Dalton, who's frozen, right? He says, one quack doctor taught us to never give up hope. We should listen to fools like that more.
Yeah.
That's a great line.
Yeah,
that is a great line. All right. Luffy is angry with Wapol over the attack on the skull and crossbones.
Yes.
And he says the skull and crossbones is a symbol of faith. You have to be willing to die for it. We're just going to add to this. I think I'm going to make a collection of everything that is said about pirates and skull and crossbones and condense it into one thing.
Yeah.
Because there's a definition here, and I haven't found it yet, and it's driving me crazy.
Okay.
Because I want to find it. I want to define it, right?
Yeah.
Luffy and Chopper bond over the pirate flag. Specifically, Luffy's defense of the pirate flag.
Yes.
Right? And accept it.
Which is another one of the great important scenes, is Chopper seeing someone who he has no idea who this is. He's never really met him. He was getting chased by him a little bit ago.
For food.
Well, yeah. Okay.
and
now all of a sudden this dude is defending this piece of cloth with his life on behalf of Chopper, just because he sees how important it is.
But it's for an entire... No, it's not just for that. It's because he has his own definition of what it means.
But he knows that his definition, you know, plays into the whole, this is important to someone.
Yes.
Otherwise it wouldn't be up here.
Yes, I won't argue that. Right.
So I'm saying from Chopper's perspective.
Right.
That's what it is.
Because they each have different reasons for defending it.
Yes.
Right.
And they don't know the other's reasons for defending it. They just see it as the important thing that it is to both of them.
I just had a realization. Gotta I just had a realization. I have read hundreds of books.
Mm-hmm.
I have read hundreds of short stories.
Yes.
I have taught them. I have covered them.
Yes.
Nothing makes me choke up and tear up like One Piece. It is.
It does that. It
30
does that.
years
it's going
of
to
doing
do that.
this, and yeah, it's One Piece, and so I have to do it in front of a camera.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Okay, you're not the first, and you won't be the last to cheer up in front of a camera talking about One Piece. Do not worry.
Chopper says that
There's a montage out there will be added to it. Oh, just you wait. A couple more arcs, and I'm going to be bawling.
Chopper says that he may not have any friends, but he can fight. And Luffy tells him at that moment that he is Chopper's friend.
Yeah.
I was just realizing how much he has in common with Luffy, because Luffy will fight for someone he just meets.
Yeah.
Right? And Chopper's pretty much doing the same thing. There's a commonality between the two of their characters there.
Kinship there.
Yeah, there is. I just jumped off the page at me when I read that. All right. Chopper and his whatever that little ball is that he consumes.
He calls it a rumble ball. Yeah.
A rumble ball. And I don't know if this is something we're going to see more of. Does he have a supply of these?
Yeah.
All right.
But spoilers, yes.
Okay. I kind of assumed he's got them.
Yeah.
We didn't see them being developed.
No.
Right. This is a new thing.
He just pulls it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says it works for 3 minutes. And then it gives him these 7 stages of development from the rumble ball.
Yeah.
Right. And opens up Luffy's mind to the possibility of more stages of development. Now, this is gonna stick in here for a little bit. Obviously, you saw the sweatshirt I wore the last time we filmed. I realized that there's more to come and there's changes to take place. But right now, Luffy's got 2 stages of development, and the playfulness of Luffy. Which book? I am done with that one. All right. The playfulness of Luffy when he gets to an island, and we first see this when they get to
Little Garden,
to the last arc, where he says, "I smell adventure," and then you get this little kid waving his hand,
like,
right?
Yeah, let's go,
in that grinning picture right there. And he does it again when they get to Drum Island. Yeah, he has the same childlike thing.
They're building snowmen outside.
Yeah, and they're just having fun. But then you get the transformation, and I still say it's the hand.
It's also this picture just goes so hard. That is just a badass. Well drawn.
Yeah, that right there.
That. The silhouette eyes, it never fails. It never fails to hit hard.
And so here's where the point where I have so many of these stupid little tabs in here that I'm not going to find what I'm looking for. But whenever you see him get to the point where he goes from that innocent, goofy little, let's go adventure type guy to this muscular, well-developed 8-pack in the hands as he's getting ready to punch, Yeah. And it's like those are the 2 stages of Luffy right now to this point. Yeah. Chopper opens him up to the idea that there's more. At least that's the way I'm reading it. Okay. That he shows him
that's a good I like that.
There might be more. And so then the question is, how does that get explored? All right. Oh my goodness.
That's fair enough that we need a shirt.
Okay. Let's do that. I don't have goop running down my mustache. All right. Chopper. So we got that. Dalton bowing to Chopper in thanks. That's huge. Yes. That's absolutely huge.
It is.
All right. Then we get this little side thing where Ace appears. Tell him I'll be at Alabasta, and that just whets your appetite to read more. That was just fun. All right,
and they say that he's chasing after.
I don't remember.
Blackbeard.
Is he chasing after Blackbeard?
They mention. I read specifically, and I remember.
Okay.
Specifically, they do mention that he's chasing Blackbeard. That he was looking for Blackbeard.
I am truly intrigued by this section of the story where Dr. Kureha says, "Have you heard of Gol D. Roger?" And Dalton says, "D? You mean Gold Roger?" And she says, "Is that what he's called now?" And I just went, "Oh, there's more to this backstory that I get to read later on."
Yeah, there is.
All right, okay.
Yeah, there's just like I'm not got the first taste,
and it's just like there's more than meets the eye here, and I didn't miss that. That was one that was just like, okay, this is important. All right. Yeah. But I have nothing else to do with it right now. And if I'm failing to connect this to something that I read in the past, my forgiveness, this world is getting so big.
No, it's very big. Right. And honestly, the fact that you have notes and you'll have a whole encyclopedia of notes to flip through is going to be hilarious and awesome. And
well, yeah, you'll see me, we'll be doing, chapters 700 and I'll have a 5-inch binder of, quick, let me look it up. Nami recognizes Chopper for his ability to speak animal and his skills as a doctor. There's another critical moment that reinforces to Chopper that he has value and that other people see it. I liked that point.
This is still hands down one of the funniest lines.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just Luffy. Luffy thinks he's cool. It's the 7 transformations.
Right.
The whole he's a doctor? Wow, that's incredible. Wait, he's a doctor? You guys didn't know that? Why did you ask him to join the crew if you didn't know he was a doctor? Because he has 7 transformations, and then Sanji goes, emergency food.
So here's the thing about that. That could be just a funny joke, but I'm not entirely certain.
It wasn't. Not for Sanji.
You know, and I'm like, that's kind of frightening, you know? So
Sanji's got an edge to him.
You know, you get this. Oh, here it is. Here's the picture. Here's the hand picture that that I've got there.
The photo of Luffy,
right?
And I think it's a lot of artistic expression of where Luffy's at mentally.
Okay,
we talked about this last time.
Yeah,
we did. Yeah, when he's carefree, he's round, he's chibi,
yes.
He's waving his arms all excited, and then when he's serious, so it's not that his body physically changes, it's just that it's the artistic portrayal of his state of mind.
Yeah, I didn't
great.
mean that as a physical transformation as much as a symbolic.
It is a mental state. It is very much a symbolic transformation. I'm just touching on it.
So, you know, you finally get the moment where Tony Chopper states his name.
Yes.
And he makes his claim, and he kind of just stands up for himself there. What else did I mark here? Oh, this is something that I really like. This segment where he's going up against
the dual stack
guys, where he takes the time to put his hoofs together, where he takes the time to calm himself, stand there, focus, and he's looking for their weakness, and he finds it. In the heat of a battle, to be able to calm yourself and to focus on that is amazing. It is a moment of strength. It is a moment of calm. It's a moment of confidence, and it's just this side of Tony Chopper that you see for the first time, and I thought, this is really cool. So I wanted to...
You're going to need that in a second.
Okay. What, for taking notes in the...
When I get started, yeah.
Okay, so...
This also... I love that.
Okay, yes. Okay, so here's the moment. I call this Chopper's Nami moment.
Yeah.
Okay, the moment in her story that broke my heart when she said, "Help me."
Yeah.
And then,
right?
So this
One
moment,
Piece, man, it breaks you.
This moment right here, when Chopper says, "But I'm not human like you. I'm a monster. I can never be part of your group, but I wanted to thank you." That is such a heartbreaking moment because he has absorbed this definition that other people gave him.
Yes.
That he's a monster when he's really not. And you can see the anger in that. And you can see this battle that's taking place inside of him. And that's when you see how hurt and damaged he really is. And that's the moment in the story where I went, oh my goodness. I like this guy. So, I don't know why, I like the Misfits. And then Luffy, he doesn't care. He says, shut up and join the crew. So, anyway, I have to beg a pause.
The beautiful, you miss it in the black and white. It's very well drawn in the black and white, but the cherry blossom color thing.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Happens,
That's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous in color. It was gorgeous animated. I just wanted to bring that up. We're going to take a time.
We're going to take a short... We're going to
time out.
Time out. Give me a moment. I have to. All right. So there is...
Hold on. I'm not mic'd up yet.
No. That's okay. That's okay. There is a note in here that there's a thing in here. We do not let me finish this recording without the final non-story item from Oda.
Okay. All right.
Because I came across something in the book that just kind of floored me. That just.
All right. Was it one of the interview things? Or
it was it was a page at either the beginning or the end of a chapter.
Okay.
All right. So
tag back.
Loved this story the second time through.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Got the character right? See the seeds of where things are going, and after a long time, just regained my love for One Piece. I mean, this arc really did a great job, and I know you've been very patient with me.
Yeah,
teach me what.
Yeah,
what do you got?
So these are all in chronological order. So I've kind of surrendered to the idea that if I want to say anything, I'm going to dive a tiny bit into some spoiler territories, but I think I've got the compromise for it. So do not worry. I've known this man for 28 years. I know well enough what he'll remember and what he won't remember. Something I want you to make note of, though, because I just realized it upon reread. I'm not going to tell you why it's important, but Vivi's line about helplessly dying at the hands of such an illness is a common occurrence in the Grand Line. She says it right at the beginning. I found that fun. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's fun. I forgot that was mentioned.
When did she say that?
Right at the beginning when Nami is sick. When they're still on.
Oh yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah.
Yep,
okay. Yep.
I love the detail at the beginning that Usopp is the one to call out Nami's lie. You know, obviously it's fitting. You know, I think Vivi or Sanji could have easily done that, but the fact that it's Usopp is great. When Nami gets up, she's like, "No, I'll be fine. Don't worry."
Yeah.
It's just a little cold, and Usopp's like, "No, she's lying." Yeah, it's great. Give him that role. Obviously, the big moment where Vivi teaches Luffy, "Hey, sometimes it's not worth fighting."
Yes.
You know, be a proper captain and learn when diplomacy is it. I forgot that this is the first mention of Blackbeard. Another line that you might want to make note of. You probably didn't make note of it. Again, you guys will know why this is significant, but I forgot that this was mentioned here in Drum Island this early on. People in snowy countries don't sleep, says Luffy. He heard this from a guy in a bar.
People in...
You know what I'm talking about. In snowy countries, don't sleep. Luffy heard this from a guy in a bar. You know why. You understand. I love the line from Hero Luck. Chopper received so much tough love.
Yes.
Early on.
Yes.
But Hero Luck's line, set sail and discover how small your problems really are. That is a line. That goes real hard. Wow.
I remember that.
Wow.
And you know why I didn't include it? I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. No,
I truly didn't know what to do.
It's just a good line. It always breaks my heart every time Hero Luck does the one thing that he promised he wouldn't do to drive Chopper away. Mm-hmm. And that is shoot at him. Mm-hmm. It just hurts. Mm-hmm. It hurts so hard. Mm-hmm. The big thing, though, I notice is that is a very human behavior. It is a very human behavior for people to, in times of pain, push others away to save themselves from the pain.
Yes.
It's easier if it was a phenomenon we had to study for mental health in the military, is that on deployment, a lot of times people pre-deployment, married couples will fight. Because when they separate for that long period of time, that initial separation, initially it hurts less because
you've been fighting
and you're angry at them.
Right.
So you don't miss them as much. But it leads to more problems down the line. It's not a rational response, but it is a very human response. And that's exactly what Hero Luck was doing. You said at the beginning of this whole adventure, when you first started reading it, that Oda gets the human condition.
He does. He does.
This is just more of that. He gets it.
From such a young age, it made me wonder what he studied, because I mean, he's got this understanding of it.
We already talked about basically he's a monster line is so important, but really the big thing in this is that whole monster arc. So we got Chopper, who's been called a monster since he was young. You've got, essentially what you have here is even more horrifying if you read into it a little bit more. You've got an animal, a normal animal. Now, obviously in the One Piece world, animals are a little bit smarter than they are in ours. They have a little bit more sentience, yada yada. We see it with the rabbits or the lapins, the big carnivorous rabbits. You see that. But you see what is essentially still just an animal that has been bullied its entire life, doesn't know why, doesn't understand why. Suddenly it eats this human fruit that grants it consciousness and suddenly has an awareness and understanding and has the capacity to feel the pain, emotional pain of the rejection all at once. That's horrifying. Like Chopper, like goes from being just a deer to suddenly having a higher level of understanding why, which just makes his return to the herd and his fight through the herd that much more heroic in its own way. And then, he gets rejected by humanity because they see him as a monster and not to delve too deep into it. You understand. Yeah, I can see why the humans would do that. It's not entirely their fault. They live in a land where there's carnivorous rabbits. So they, would assume that, but we're not seeing this from the human's perspective. We're seeing this from Chopper's perspective, which is why this works.
Right.
So,
and there's a childlike quality to him.
Yes. I mean, he's young. So this A plot going on is about Chopper and finding his place, right? And the reason it works is because I think everyone or most people at some point in their life have felt like the outcast. And Chopper is kind of taken all of that, whether it's the most extreme or the most basic of like, I'm a kid and I moved to a new location and I don't have any friends. I'm still the outcast. You got that fear, right?
Right.
He's captured all those emotions into this character of Chopper, of this fear of being an outcast and this, I'm just going to, seclude myself away and not interact with humans because I'll just get labeled as a monster. Meanwhile, you have, Sanji and Luffy and this whole new definition of the word monster, which is something Oda seems to like to play with, unintentionally or intentionally, is multiple definitions for the same word. Because in the same span of story, you have people who say monster in a negative context, and then people who say it in a positive context, in a proud context, even. And upon rereading it and thinking about it, and thinking about talking for this episode, you know what occurred to me? The real, proper negative context of monster, the person that applies to most, is Wapol. Wapol ties the A plot and the B plot together.
That's an interesting observation.
Because the whole B plot, you've got Vivi and Usopp, and they're trying to, figure out where they're going. They're trying to get more information out, but you see more of Vivi's character. And in this story, in this arc, you have two examples of royalty. And Oda takes the time to display two different sides to royalty in one piece.
Yes.
You've got some more benevolent royalty, you got some royalty that care about their country, their people in Vivi, and then you get someone who is just in it for themselves in Wapol. One who abandoned his people at the first slight of conflict. One who just abandoned them and now wants to come and reclaim his position and exploit them and whatnot. So you see this in the B plot, and then Wapol becomes, the monster of the A plot, and then, they have to take him down, they have to beat him up. But it occurred to me that Wapol is the true monster of this. He has treated his people horribly. He abandons them at the first sight of provocation. He changes into this machination, halfway through. And all this talk of Chopper being the monster and then Dalton also transforming into an ox, but he's accepted by the people because, he fights for them. He could qualify as a monster as well. But then you get Luffy and you get all these mixed definitions of what it means to be a monster. You've got, there's so many layers to it that I saw as I reread it.
I saw the difference in the way the community accepted Dalton versus Tony as a flaw in this story.
I see it as Dalton, he reverts to a human form. Like he's still a human when he changes out of it. So they see him as a human who transforms. Okay, whereas they see Chopper and they see a reindeer that's talking like a human.
Yeah, they kind of go in the opposite directions.
They do go in opposite directions.
All right.
So in Chopper's case, that would be why. It's just that's the big thing that ties the there's an A plot and a B plot, and Wapol I think is truly the monster in this story.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
At least that's what I got out of it. And it was just I had fun doing that. Yeah, it's a really good arc overall. Chopper's backstory is so tragic in so many ways, and then he never stopped getting that tough love even to the end, which was
no, he didn't.
Kureha is just a total witch.
You keep waiting for this guy to catch a break.
Yeah,
and he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Through the whole thing. So what did I miss?
No, I think you got it.
You think I got it?
I think you got it. Because there's not. Drum Island is an arc that I think starts to set up for other arcs. It plants some seeds.
Okay.
I think we really touched on most of them because it doesn't plant them super deep.
Okay.
It's very much establishing, Vivi. It's fleshing her out a little bit more. It's fleshing the world out a little bit more. And then also introducing us to this brand new character and giving us more definitions for like the term pirate,
right,
and what it means to be a monster,
right,
and all these things. It's a real, it's kind of narrative flexing almost. He's starting to juggle all these different things at once. He's fleshing out the world. He's fleshing out the politics. He's fleshing out more characters, adding to the crew.
Right.
Building this up a little bit. It's getting fun.
So back when you introduced this to me, and we went through, and you showed me the members of the crew, and you asked me what I thought they did, and I remembered reading this that you asked me who this was and what did I think he did. You told me he was the ship's doctor, and I was just like, really? That's weird, but okay.
Yeah.
Vivi is this really cool character. But Vivi's got a goal and a mission and a need and a responsibility that she has to meet. And so I don't expect Vivi to remain a member of the crew. And part of me wants Vivi to remain a member of the crew, but she can't. It's just a thing. It's just a thing. It's out there. It's like we've got this really cool character, but we're going to lose this character down the line if she's going to be true to Alabasta, or there's going to be some major plot twist that allows her to stay. And I don't remember our talking about her character, but I also don't remember all the characters that we talked about.
That's fair, yeah.
So there's just like, you got a bit of an emotional investment into a character that you're going to have to say goodbye to, or the odds are we're going to have to say goodbye to. That's an unfortunate aspect of her
But that's what makes a good story, is if you're invested in the character.
Yeah. No, it's not a criticism. It's an observation. And honestly, it's an observation I just had. I mean, it literally just hit me.
Yeah.
That, we're going to have to say goodbye to this.
Oh, yeah. Drum Island. There's a lot going on in this. This is a full...
Yeah.
This is where the arcs start to pick up, and where the videos are probably going to pick up and become longer. But
okay.
This is... It's woof. It's really it just hits over and over and over again, multiple times in this one. It's not like there's one moment that makes you really, really sad, like the help me moment. There's just multiple moments of oh man, hey look, I'm hurt again. That means you can fix me again, right? And then there's the double down, and then the double down, and then the triple down, and the...
Trying to toughen him up for the world that is to come.
But I'm happy to report Chopper has found a true home now.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. Yeah, I'm
Straw Hats love him. So...
Okay.
He's definitely still a part of the crew, though, so all the wacky antics that ensues will continue to ensue.
I read all the pages.
Yes.
Right? And so I came across this, and I just realized I can't read this. So either read it or post it. Because this...
My staff and I often go to a very noisy Japanese restaurant where a lot of people take their children. There are TVs at each table. If you go there on Sunday nights at 7:30, you'll see the children staring at the TV screens with their mouths open, looking silly. They're watching One Piece. When I see that, I never want to let them down. Petra Oda. Yep. The man cares. So,
a great deal.
Drum Island, yes. What are your thoughts on this? This again, fighting for second place. Fighting for second place. I'm not going to tell you what the other one is. That's fighting for second place. We'll get to it when we get to it. I'm pretty sure I've already mentioned which one's my favorite, and it should be no surprise to anyone.
Okay.
Because it is a very commonly beloved arc. It's number one. But yeah, I love Drum Island. I love Chopper. Chopper's just great. He's, this break of cuteness that's just inserted into the story. And then, he got good moments. He is a mascot character of One Piece, which is funny because Oda was like, I don't want to draw mascot characters. And then, so what happened was he started drawing Chopper cuter and more like a mascot character because the Japanese voice actress for Chopper, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, is the voice of Pikachu in Pokemon.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And when he heard her voicing Chopper for the first time, he thought it was too cute to not have the character's match the voice. So he started drawing him a little more cute, a little more chibi.
Well, there's 2 gigs that one voice actress could finance her life with.
Pikachu and One Piece. Yeah. Oh, geez.
Nice.
But yeah, Drum Island, what are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section down below. And I believe Alabasta is next.
I think it's got to be.
I don't remember if there's anything in between.
No, there isn't.
We're going straight towards it
because you get this.
Oh, there is one little. Yes, you get this little section.
Right, Bon Clay. Right,
Bon Clay.
Yes, Bon Clay back at Drum Island.
At Drum Island,
but that's not the crew going there. That's just a little bit of backstory, right?
Before the next thing happens. So. Yes. What are your thoughts on Drum Island? Please leave them in the comment section down below. You know the deal with spoilers. Put it in the top of the comment.
Y'all been great about that. I appreciate it.
It's been fantastic. It's fun to read. And if you want, to follow more and be updated when we post our One Piece stuff, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're closing in on 5,000 subscribers, which is incredible.
I can't believe it, and it's primarily the One Piece community that has put us here.
We appreciate every single one of you.
Thank you for your patience. I do have to order the next 3-volume set, and I think I'll do that today when I get home.
Probably gonna need to buy the next couple.
Is Alabasta big?
Alabasta is where we start getting into some longer arcs.
Okay.
So.
All right. Is that dancing squid in this? Oh, okay. Dancing lizards.
I love
dancing lizards. Lizard runners. Urgent delivery force. Baroque works.
Be out of context.
That's hysterical.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Lizard runner.
Oh man, I'm very. Every time we film one of these, I'm just more excited for the next.
Did you get everything said that you needed to say?
Yeah, pretty much.
I thought your notes were going to be a little more depth.
There was a little more in depth. We kind of went over a lot of it with the initial talk about the he's a monster line and everything else. Okay. So yeah, no, we got the majority of it taken. Yeah. I was like, I got some stuff I can throw in here, but
cool. Very good. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Oh, they're gonna love this one. Crying on camera again.